What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripe Show. The Yankees have no direction at all. Hi, Scott.
What's up, man? There's no direction at all. We don't even know what they're doing on the baseball field. We don't even know what they're doing for the starting pitcher. We don't know we do know what they're going to say in the postgame, though. We do know what they're going to say in the postgame.
Broken record.
Yeah, that's the one thing. They do have some direction there, you know? We're grinding. We're working at it every day. I don't know what more we can do. We're really trying hard.
They've got the guys in the room. They've just gotta improve from within.
Yeah. It's right in front of us. It's all right there. This is a serious contender team. Put this team together to compete. We're in it to win it.
So the deadline came and went. The Yankees were the final team to make a move, if that's what you want to call it. Kenyon Middleton, who's a rental relief pitcher from the White Sox. It
doesn't even sound like a real name. It's just like someone made it up.
Honestly, I would have preferred them not to make a move at all, because this is basically a move just to make a move. I saw a tweet that every single team since July 1st in Major League Baseball had made some sort of move except the Yankees. And this was at like 5 p.m. before the deadline with like an hour to go. And then Brian Cashman was just like, okay, what can we do that has absolutely no impact one way or the other? I know. Let's get this guy from the White Sox for a prospect no one's ever going to hear from again, and a reliever that's going to pitch for us for 2 months and no one's ever going to hear from again.
You know what? If the Yankees had listened to us when we actually did our GM episode and just went and got a deal done for Bellinger, then things could have been a little bit different. Cubs were not in a situation at that point. You could have overpaid a little bit, had the ability to overpay a little bit. Why not? Just go get the guy and try to fix something, try to actually make it work. But no, everybody became, by the time the deadline came, there were so few teams involved in selling their players that, the only true thing that he said is like, yeah, the pot of teams and players certainly got smaller, but guess what? A lot of teams figured it out. A lot of teams figured it out to get themselves better, including the Houston fucking Astros, who are about to come into town with Justin Verlander again. It's like you look around and you see what other people did, and they made
That's
moves.
The nightmare that's never going to end is Justin Verlander shoving bats down the Yankees' throat, pitching in a Houston Astros uniform. That's going to happen until the day we die, I feel.
Yeah, I know. He's been rubbing it in my face that he's a professional.
He's been in your life for 20 years.
He's been in my life for way too long. And I saw
like 25 years.
I saw a very different thing. Okay. And now he's just like, look at me. Kate Upton. Oh, World Series. Oh, never going to stop playing. Oh, going to shove the bats down the Yankees' throats. Oh, awesome. Thanks, Justin. Appreciate it. In fact, I don't blame him. Good for him. I'm happy for him. He's killing. Good for him.
I hate everything about it. I hate everything about it. But at the same time, it's hilarious. The Astros are going to get Justin Verlander back for less money. For less money. They're getting him back for a playoff run, which because they have balls, will make a deep playoff run. You just know that
the first half of the season doesn't matter. He just had they basically used Steve Cohen to cut his salary in half and get him when they need him.
He had a nice Manhattan vacation for a couple months, and now he's going back to Houston for the playoff run, where he'll probably be vintage Justin Verlander again because he'll be actually whatever. Back to your point about Brian Cashman needing to make moves a month ago and not in the 48 hours leading up to the deadline, because you're right. Whatever they did Monday and Tuesday was likely going to be too little too late for this team. They needed to make moves in June and July when this team was reeling, but still at that point was in third place and could have sustained until you got guys back and healthy and hopefully performing. Because talk about broken record. We sound like a broken record. No matter who they acquired at the deadline, unless Judge it was back and healthy and performing, and Stanton started to hit, and DJ and all those guys started to hit, this team's going nowhere anyway. Yeah. But what you could have done in June and July is go acquire an outfielder, which you desperately needed. Go acquire a corner infielder, which you desperately needed. Acquire anything to give yourself a better chance in June and July to not fall this far behind. And now what you are left with leading up to the deadline is a roster and a team and a position in the standings that they know is not, they cannot overcome it. Okay. Brian Cashman knows that. I believe he's smart enough to realize this team was not worth investing in. But he was also, as many people said, many experts in the industry said, paralyzed by indecision, which is the worst thing you could possibly be in a position of general manager,
Well,
is
and why do
not
you have
knowing what to
indecision?
do.
Why do you have indecision? Because you don't have a plan. That's the biggest piece. When you don't have a plan and you don't have something that you're looking at to execute, and I have an idea, understanding that plan will pivot. You probably should have a plan with 16 different routes that it can go so that you're ready for this. But what this leads me to believe is that there's a lack of preparation, understanding what they put together for what has happened, and they just didn't know how to do anything. So I'm gonna ask you a question, because this is something I'm wondering, and maybe this is just me being hopeful in how things are conversations are happening inside the Yankees brass. Do you think at any point by Monday after the Baltimore series that Hal said to Brian Cashman, you're not making any significant move? I don't want you selling anything significant because we need to, I don't want to add pieces right now. Like, this is your team. You and Boone need to figure it out for the rest of this year, or that's it. And they're going to bring in someone else to help architect the team a little bit more and use some of the assets that they can make.
I really hope
that could be, one of those things, because if you're Brian Cashman and you're fighting for your GMs, or, I mean, granted, he's like in the club, in the Steinbrenner club, but you'd think that they're fighting for their job, right? So you want to be aggressive, especially in the New York market like this. When you don't do a damn thing, you don't do anything, you don't go one way or the other, you don't sell, you don't add anything significant that adds anything to this team. The guy that they added is essentially bringing up someone from AAA. There's really nothing different than that. You got to believe that there's some sort of mandate.
They sent scouts to see Juan Soto just to make sure he's good.
Okay,
if they wanted to acquire him.
Common sense department says he's good. You got to believe maybe there was something said. This is your bed. Lie in it, fix it, or don't, and that's it. Like, this is a dead man walking or not. Figure it out.
If that actually happened, that is a real terrible job by Hal Steinbrenner, because I understand why he does not want to lose out on being quote unquote competitive in the second half of this season or the final stretch of this season, because he wants to put asses in seats at Yankee Stadium. But if he is going to say that to his general manager, basically saying, listen, I know this team's not good enough, but you can't even try to fix it or try to set us up for better success next year, then what are we doing here?
Or he's saying, you believe this team is still good enough. You believe that we have what we need to make this.
But they're not. Anyone with eyeballs can see they're not. This team is not good enough.
Well, Brian Cashman then doesn't have eyeballs, because he does think that. He says that clearly. We're in it to win it. He's been saying
what else? What else is he going to say? Like you always get annoyed with me for saying, "Oh, I just wish Boone would say this or that." But we know what these guys are going to say. They're not going to sit there and say on August 1st, "We're not good enough."
I get it.
They're going to say, "We believe we're good enough," even though everyone knows they're not good enough.
My point is that it could be you've made your bed, now lay in it situation, and you either fix it or you don't. But this is where you
then put the blame on Hal, put the blame on Cashman. That is
the
worst possible place.
The blame goes all the way to the top, no doubt.
But that's the worst possible place to be as any organization, not just a baseball team, any organization, to sit there and analyze something and say, this is not working. But this is our fault. This is our bed. We must lay in it and continue to deal with the crap. You don't even try to make changes. So what are we doing?
Kenyon Middleton,
right? Hopefully. Oh yeah, Cashman's quote.
And he references references Nestor Cortez. He references Loizaga. He referenced all the guys that we had talked about being midseason acquisitions from within. He did that. He played that game. He gave us what we wanted.
And he just really get the motivation going with this quote from Cashman. Hopefully we got a little better with Middleton, and hopefully we can get better from within, and hopefully we didn't get worse by making a bad decision. Hopefully we didn't get worse. That's a real interesting way to look at it. And
what's happening in Queens? Weren't there some quotes about that?
We pulled this quote, and it's beautiful. Not synergy. What's the word I'm looking for?
It's a shit show. Just read it.
Steve Cohen was saying, you look at the probabilities. What are we at? 15% to make the postseason, and other teams were getting better. So you have to take odds down from that. So you're going to have a 12% chance of just getting into the playoffs. Those are pretty crummy odds. I've said before, hope is not a strategy. I want sustainability. And so what did Steve Cohen and the Mets do? They traded pieces, and they paid to trade pieces away to get prospects, hopefully to sustain for a longer time. We looked it up right before we started recording.
It's ironic that you said hopefully to sustain, just for the record, but okay, keep going.
No, that is kind of ironic. He didn't say that. I said that. The Mets, like we said, 12 to 15% chance to make the playoffs. They decided that's not a good enough chance. We're going to act now and set ourselves up for success in the future. The Yankees, we looked this up right before, 19.2% or something like that to make the playoffs currently as we sit here on August 3rd. 15%, 12%, 19%. There's no difference between any of that.
I mean, none of those numbers matter to me anyway, but yeah, the chances are low. They're bad. I did think it was interesting with that what Scherzer kind of leaked about the conversation he had with Cohen and Brass about the team not putting back. And I'm not going to go off on this, but I thought it was interesting and funny. Not going after significant free agents next year and looking at 25, 26 as a more realistic opportunity for there. Yeah. So Scherzer's like, oh yeah. Okay. So where do I sign to get out of here?
No. So just the Yankees deadline, I think, was worst case scenario, because if they did acquire, even if I know it was going to be too little too late, you can trick yourself for a couple days into thinking, oh, okay, maybe some things can fall into place and this team can get back into the race here. And if they sold maybe pieces, Bader, Glaber, some of the relievers and things like that, while that would have been, I think, surprising, at least it's a direction that the team is going in, and you can convince yourself on that, right? Just, we want a direction. We want a plan to get behind. And what they said at this deadline was, we don't have a plan. Let's just see what happens. And that's not going to be good enough, because what happens is, the way this team plays is, you saw them last night against Tampa. Garrett Cole comes out and after the first inning shoves, pitches 7 dominant innings. The Yankees bats wake up, Volpe, Stanton hit the home runs, and the team has a nice win and it looks great. But what is it surrounded by? 3, 4, 5 games of just utter trash, where they're out of the game in the second or third inning. And you know it's a loss as soon as they fall behind 3-0. That is what this is. So you win 1 out of 3, 1 out of 4. That's not good enough.
And frankly, you know, when Wander goes deep and they go up 2-0 out of the jump, you're like, oh my God, here we go again. Are you kidding me? So at least Cole, who's been
at least they fought
phenomenal,
back.
has been phenomenal. The guys put some numbers in here with Cole about coming back from a loss. Where are the numbers? They're not in the. Maybe it was in a.
He's not. The Yankees are 9-0. The Yankees
9-0. He's essentially taking that stopper role where he's really the only hope. And when you're on the mound, he gives you an opportunity every single time. As many things as I've said about Garrett Cole and my uncertainty and my non-belief with him in certain moments, man, has he been different this year. He looks like the guy that was come over, and it's a goddamn shame that the team around him is trash, because right now we're getting the best Cole we've gotten for, a longer period of time. And when we don't hit that window on our most prized asset, to actually surround him with a decent team, it's a waste of money at the end of the day. Really, it is. It's a waste of money, and it's a waste of talent, and it's a waste of damn good performances. So it's a fucking shame that they haven't put this thing together around what they deemed was the most important asset in Garrett Cole. And then Rodon, can't throw a strike. So who the fuck knows there?
Yeah, the clip of Joel Sherman was circulating where he went on a little bit of a rant about Cashman and the Yankees, and basically just said they've built a $300 million roster where they only have 2 players. They have Garrett Cole and they have Aaron Judge. And this year, Aaron Judge has been injured for a large part of the season. So that he's been non-existent. And Garrett Cole, is having a fantastic season. He's currently the favorite to win the Cy Young. Great. It's coming in a season that's not going to matter. That's not Cole's fault necessarily.
No.
But he's going to win a Cy Young, and the Yankees are going to finish 3 games over 500 or something like that. So beautiful. Great. Like you said, they're wasting prime Cole. They're wasting prime Judge. Next year is just one more year towards not being prime in those guys. And if you don't win with those guys in their prime, you're probably not going to win ever. And it's a very fleeting. This whole run of, you want to call it 17 through
ever since 17,
wherever?
man, ever since 17, like that was such a high, even going into 17, and then 17 delivered on everything we asked, we could have hoped for, plus, 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 plus. And then, it ended obviously, but ever since then, it's like, can't get it back. Can't get it back. Can't
No,
get that back.
Ever since they hired the broadcaster to be the manager, it's been a shit show. Seriously.
Yeah.
Like, I know they had good season in 18 and 19, but they didn't win. And it's just been a complete joke. Like, this was a circus this week. Now is the time we have to talk about the Domingo Germán circus. Okay, Germán checking himself into rehab, getting help for alcoholism. Okay. Domingo Germán, in case you needed another reminder, is not a good guy. Being an alcoholic does not necessarily make you not a good guy, but domestic violence makes you not a bad guy, and he has that on his record.
It makes you a bad guy.
Cheating makes you a bad guy, and he has that on his record this year as well. And when you dive into what happened this week and hear guys talk about it and hear what the Yankees are saying, it sounds like there was an incident with his immediate family this week involving.
I don't know if it was with the immediate family, but everybody, including all of the players, referenced the immediate family as someone in there as a concern as well. So again, a lot of speculation around this because the Yankees are clearly lying to us. First of all, that's the first thing. This is all bullshit. Like, there's some bullshit happening. It smelled like bullshit when they used the armpit excuse, whether that was coming from Germán, the armpit, and then they just continued with it. It's just like, what are we doing? The armpit? What's happening?
And Boone was caught in lies
for sure
in his press conferences, because we got the news Germán was scratched from the start on Monday, and everyone's immediate thought was trade.
Yeah.
And then they said armpit discomfort.
Right.
Then he's warming up in the bullpen after
which
the Yankees
goes back,
are already
which
down
goes
big.
goes back to the day before where he couldn't throw. Like, pain tolerance at the highest you can be, and then all of a sudden it's gone.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? Sometimes will make you not be able to throw, being blackout drunk.
That could be, absolutely. That is not a good recipe for going and throwing balls or catching balls. I've told my Red Bull vodka story with trying to play first base, taking myself out of the game. Not good. Not a good combination.
You knew something was immediately fishy when he's warming up in the bullpen in the 5th inning on Monday night. And I thought it was just a trade that fell through. And they didn't have him start because he was in a trade package, and then that didn't happen. So they're like, okay, let's put him in the game. He pitched great on Monday night. He pitched 5 shutout innings. It didn't matter. The Yankees were getting crushed.
And by the way, if they had come out and said that, everybody would have been like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been a reasonable thing to say.
Yes, that's perfect. Every team does that. You don't want to jeopardize a guy that you might be trading with injury.
Sure.
Yeah, of course. I'm not faulting them for that. And then after the game, Boone's talking about how he was looked at by Dr. Ahmad in the 5:00 hour and was cleared. But at that point, it was too late to get him ready to start, and Brito had already been preparing for his start. Okay? So Sunday, he's got such armpit discomfort, he can't throw a baseball. 5:00 on Monday, he's cleared to pitch.
And Brito was brought up on Sunday. They got him moving on Sunday, understanding that there's a possibility of something.
8:35 at night on Monday, he's warming up in the bullpen, and he's pitching 5 scoreless innings. Okay? And then Wednesday, Boone says he tells there's something happening with the rotation, right? Okay. So we find out that right before the game, the Yankees released the press that he's checking himself into rehab. And then after the game, they're talking about an incident on Tuesday, which is after the whole Monday debacle with the game. There was an incident on Tuesday. Logan, you said something about Stanton saying, what did he say exactly?
Stanton said they asked him, like, is it tough to like play with this? And he was like, I kind of like knew this was coming. Like knew it was going to be something like
so.
This.
And just for like more context here, from what they're saying and from what Cashman was saying too, Germán's had an alcohol
issue. Back to 2019 when he was drunk at CC's thing. Yes. Kind of an ironic connection there with CC, who also checked himself into rehab. CC though, good guy. He was drunk at that, and that's how the domestic violence thing happened.
Yeah, that's when it happened. So they're all referencing. Clearly, everybody was prepped beforehand because a lot of them are saying similar things in the way that they're prepped for the media. Of course, that's what happens, and all of them are thoughts are with them and the immediate family. Like a lot of them kept so yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if there was something that happened there. Wouldn't surprise me. And then also, Cashman saying that he's done for the year. This is whether he gets better or not. He's out for the year. That's it. He's not going to pitch for us again. So
he should never pitch for the Yankees again, period.
He shouldn't have been here in the first place.
He shouldn't have been. But at this point, how many second chances are you going to give this guy? If it was just he had a drinking problem, everything else never happened. He just had a drinking problem. You, of course, let the guy rehab and get back on the mound, and hopefully he can get sober and pitch again. That is not the situation we're dealing with Domingo Germán. He is not a good person. We've learned this now for 4+ years. He is probably bad for the clubhouse. If you've got Stanton saying, "Oh, we knew something like this was going to happen,"
an obvious distraction.
It's a distraction. Get rid of him after this is over with.
Well, no, he's part of the Yankee family. This is what Brian Cashman. So he's part of the Yankee family. They're going to do all the things. So
he's
at this point, frankly,
drunk uncle you never want coming to a barbecue.
Frankly, at this point, I feel like the Yankees have an obligation to the family over Germán. To be honest,
that's fine. You know what I'd be cool with? Get rid of Domingo Germán. Pay the family.
Yeah,
pay the family some money so they can sustain. Take care of his family. Get rid of Domingo Germán entirely.
Yeah, it's what a shit show. And the fact that there are so many just crazy stories that are coming from them with the armpit, and he's not coming in, and now he's being dismissed, and Cashman saying that they're completely not connected. There's just no way. There's just no way that this is one large coincidence around a guy that has coincidence like this follow him for the duration of his Yankees career. There's no way. There's no way that they're not connected in some way. I'm sorry. I can't believe that. I cannot believe that. And the fact that the Yankees didn't know more about this stuff too, and make additional moves, understanding as well that, Germán also part of you're looking at baseball, go back on the field for a second, put my GM hat on and my manager hat. Well, now you're down a starting pitcher in your rotation for the team that you're saying is ready to go, has to perform in it to win it down the stretch, who's been one of our best starting pitchers all year long outside Garrett Cole.
No, he really has been. I mean, if you look
at
his,
saying a lot. It's not saying a lot. First of all, that's not saying a lot.
He has, other than the perfect game, he's been pretty freaking bad.
Name someone else who's been better besides Cole.
All I'm saying is Clark Schmidt has been better.
Okay, Clark Schmidt has been better. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, Luis Severino obviously hasn't. In 5 starts for Rodon, no, he's got like a 6-something ERA.
Yeah, and Nestor hasn't been there.
Cole has been steady, obviously great. And
Vasquez has been better.
There's just, like you said, there's just no way the whole situation with Sunday, Monday, Tuesday are not connected. So the Yankees are clearly lying to us, which I understand you don't come out and just tell the whole truth, but why? Assuming there was an incident on Sunday or Monday that caused them to scratch him, why are you then putting him in the game only to have him like
the optics of that alone? Just like throw someone else, man. It's out. He's out of the game. Don't use him. Clearly, don't use him.
And like, what does that say to the rest of the team who all knows what's happening?
Right.
They all know he was scratched because he was either too drunk or too hungover or had an incident with his family, something. And then he's out there in the pen warming up in the 5th inning. You look back, like you look over your shoulder. Oh, is that fucking Domingo warming up?
And they're all talking about how we're protecting our player. Well, there's not a difference here for you protecting your player from starting than bringing him in to throw multiple innings in the 5th. Like, what? He's playing in the game. Like, I don't care if he throws 1 inning or 6 innings. It doesn't matter. You're going back on anything you're saying. It's just
the optics. Like you said, the optics are awful.
Terrible.
Everything. This team. It's one thing after the other. Just terrible.
And Boone has
they can't get out of their own way.
Boone, if you're looking at the manager and where the manager can be faulted here, there's definitely fault. Don't throw him. Get him out of the stadium. You certainly don't go up and warm him up because, oh yeah, he's ready now after
Because they need innings, right?
It doesn't matter.
This is
Get him out of
exactly what they were
this is
thinking.
How stupid he is and how out of touch he is by doing that. Like that is a managerial decision, getting a guy warmed up. Right? At the end of the day,
they were probably like, well, he's going to go into rehab sooner than later, so let's take advantage of him now. Get some innings out of him now, even though the game was 4-0 or whatever it was.
What did the breathalyzer say? Oh, we're good. Throw him. Get him out there.
What do you think was higher, his ERA or his breathalyzer?
On Tuesday, not the ERA because he pitched really well. It's crazy, man.
It's just circus shit show this season.
And you move forward looking at the rest of the year now too. Obviously, Houston coming into here, they salvaged the game against McClanahan, which I would love to talk about. That would be amazing to be able to mention because he's a very good starting pitcher. That's the guy that on 1,000% I assumed would shut it down. And after Cole gives up that 2-run home run, and McClanahan's on the other side, you're like, oh well, this team can't score runs against guys with 6 ERA, let alone a guy that's an actually legitimate good pitcher. They're screwed, and somehow they decide to hit him and are able to attack that guy, which was out of the blue. So I'd love to talk about that. Love to talk about those things, but it's very difficult to do that.
It's hard to
putting all of this circus stuff in front of us and identifying. You keep saying one thing and then doing another. You say one thing, you do another. You say one thing, you do another every time. It's like, it's a little boy that cried wolf. What are we doing?
It's not just the circus that makes it hard to get excited about Wednesday's win. It's also the fact that we realize it does not matter. They're going to continue to win games here and there. Maybe they'll have some comebacks. They're going to look great on certain nights. Cole's going to continue to pitch well. Stanton had a big 3-run home run. Volpe had a big 2-run home run. All of those things will continue to happen, and they'll continue to lose series and fall just ever so slightly farther and farther behind. They're probably not going to just tank and lose 9 out of 12 or something like that and just completely fall out of the race. No, they'll continue to go about 500, game below, game above, just to stay around, just to hover around the third wild card spot.
Yeah. Yeah. So, at this point too, if you're a player in this team, the only thing that you can do is have, just huddle, have some team meetings yourselves. Like Aaron Judge, this is a big opportunity for him to be the loudest voice in the room. Your manager's not the loudest voice in the room. He needs to be the loudest voice in the room with this team and try to muster up something. I have to imagine that's
happened already, right? Like they had to have had meetings.
But I'm saying
meetings
right now, and for the rest of the year, it needs to be constant. It needs to be constant. It can't just be one moment anymore. He needs to be the vocal and leader that leads by example, which he always has done. But again, like you look around and there's no way that these players who are professional athletes, who are grown ass men, are looking at Aaron Boone and being like, oh yeah, he's our leader. No, they're not saying that. They are not saying that. Reason number 754 why you cannot go into another season with this man at the helm. The exact same reason why you couldn't go into this season with that man at the helm, but they did anyway. There's got to be a respect factor that's being lost. Hearing him do the things, say the things over and over again with nothing changing. He's just there's nothing there. There's nothing there to get hopeful about. So Aaron Judge needs to be that guy. Stanton needs also to be that guy. Needs to be vocal. Harder for him to do when he's not performing. And Judge is limping around the goddamn bases.
Can we hold that thought on Judge? I want to talk about it. But first, I want to talk about Game Time, which is our preferred ticketing app because it is the easiest way to buy tickets to whatever you want to go to. Sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, and theater, and much, much more. Obviously, the Astros are coming to town. I just ask, if you're going to a Yankees-Astros game this weekend, please do not chant "fuck Altuve," okay? It just sounds stupid at this point. When they continue to dunk our heads in toilets and give us swirlies, and the Yankees are where they are, just enough with the stupid Altuve chants. It does not help also because every time you chant "fuck Altuve," he gets in the box and hits another double or another home run. But the Game Time app has a ton of cool features and is easy to use. It shows you trending tickets, what sections the best deals are in, and it calls out cheap options and flash deals, and much, much more so you can make an informed purchase. Maybe you want to go to the game that Verlander is pitching just for a little extra torture. There's even event cancellation protection so you can buy with confidence. I love using Game Time because you get images of your seats before you buy. It's a super fast process, couple taps, and you are done. And then boom, Tickets are sent right to your phone. I don't have to go through my email, which I have like 7,000 unread emails of just garbage from things I don't care about. Snag tickets today without stress using Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use code Bronx for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Once again, download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Bronx, BRONX, just in case you can't spell, for $20 off your first purchase. Thank you, Game Time. Judge.
Judge is doing everything he possibly can. He's playing when he probably shouldn't be. The fact that this team is telling me,
why do you say he probably shouldn't be?
Because so let me go back to a post game, because I feel like I have to watch them now, even though he says the same thing. So it's like I have to
must watch TV.
Part of the game at this point. But so someone asked him about Judge, that was, he's clearly laboring, going around second into third when he was running on the base path, right? You could tell that he's not running right, and if that's a concern. And what Boone said was that, well, he's out here playing, and that's what we're saying. We're hopeful that it's going to continue to get better. It's going to continue to get better. That's the situation. I don't get that. I don't possibly understand. I understand that the injury can't get worse from like a long-term perspective. I get that. Okay. I understand that part. If you were to injure it, it would be, again, it's something short-term, something that could be remedied in the offseason, hopefully. That said, I don't understand how you have a ligament damage in your foot, and playing on it every day is going to allow for additional healing to happen at a high level. That doesn't make any sense to me. He's still using it on a daily basis. Continue, high torque movements, a lot of just strain on that foot from doing the daily things that he does to be a Major League Baseball player. And knowing Aaron Judge, he's going to try to have it not limit him as much as possible, which means he's going to push himself. And the fact that you're telling me that it's going to continue to get better and get better and get better, I don't believe you. I don't believe anything you're saying to me. That's bullshit. There's no way him playing is going to help it get better. That said, okay, if he's just dealing with it and it's a pain thing, fine. And he's going to have that. It's not going to feel better. He's not going to start running like a gazelle again. It's not going to happen. But this man is putting himself out there to play because he knows this team needs him. They literally need him. If you want to make a case for most valuable player of anybody, Aaron Judge is the most valuable player when you're in terms of value to their particular team. He is the team. So he recognizes that and is putting himself out there. And he's doing everything you possibly can. But the fact that you're telling me that it's going to continue to get better as he's playing, you're full of shit. All right. This guy is laboring. In fact, don't say that, because it's not even fair to him. He's putting himself on the line to do this. It's not going to get better. It's going to still feel terrible probably throughout the entire year. And it's going to hurt, and it's going to labor, and it's going to affect him. And that's him toughing it out and doing what he has to do. It's not him just out there healing based on what you're saying. It's not even giving him the credit he deserves.
The questions are going to continue to come for two reasons. One, because when you see him laboring, it's an obvious thing to ask. But two, it's everyone's mind is, at what point do they shut him down? Because this team is not going to make the playoffs, right? I said last episode, they're not going to shut him down until they're mathematically eliminated, because I just think that's how the Yankees will operate. And that's probably what Judge will want too, right? It's sort of going back to the whole Derek Jeter thing.
I just don't think there's any chance of that. I think he's going to get shut down well before that.
Then if there's even a possibility that they will do that, they should shut him down now, because like you said, what is it helping for him to play the next 3, 4, 5 weeks? If all he's going to do is potentially just manage pain, perform when he's out there because he's Aaron Judge and he's great, probably get walked a ton, because any team would be foolish to pitch to Judge and not pitch to Rizzo or Stanton or someone else around him who can't freaking hit. So just walk Aaron Judge.
When you have the worst qualified batter hitting right behind him, as tweeted out with Anthony Rizzo from May 21st, I think the stat was, the worst qualified batter in Major League Baseball. That's an alarming thing to say. That's the guy that's protecting the best hitter on the planet right now. Not named Shohei Ohtani. They're both right there. But when you are protecting him, quote unquote, from being walked, of course everybody's going to go after the guy that's the worst player in baseball. But it's like best player in baseball, worst player in baseball, best player in baseball, worst player in baseball. Who are you going to throw to? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Everything's ridiculous.
If you want to make it a better, put Rizzo in front of him if you're going to do it, so that Rizzo is at least getting some strikes and has a better chance to do it with Aaron Judge helping him out. This is what I said last week. You having him in the 2 spot is actually making it worse for the other people because they're just going to pitch around him with no issue.
No, there's no common there's no common sense with this team.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to get Rizzo out of it, put him in front of Judge. How about that? Maybe he'll get better pitches. Maybe he'll get something to hit.
You know what I enjoyed from the Monday press conference? Someone asked Boone, was bringing in Domingo Germán in the 5th inning. Were you trying to do a situation like with Devi Garcia and J-Hap in the playoffs? And Boone was just like, no.
And then you could see it on his face. He was like, and kept rolling his eyes and looking at someone like, back to that same question. That was Hoke, I think, too.
Was it? Oh, God.
And Hoke that was a pure troll by Hoke.
Oh, yeah.
Pure troll.
Yeah. Pure troll.
And I completely appreciate it.
Yeah, because at this point, all Boone is doing is trolling the media and the fans. So,
and honestly, these guys, the beat guys, they all need to become like rabid dogs right now. They need to.
They don't because they're fearful of their job. Okay, and they don't want to lose access.
Need to. I feel like they need to. I feel like they need to kick back some OG New York beat reporter pressure and just
don't. They won't. It's never going to happen.
Kircher's trying. Hoke with that little comment, something, but
yeah, those are like little things, but you still get the questions, like the leadoff question, no matter who it is. Boone, Carlos Rodon really struggled with his command out there tonight. What'd you see? Well, yeah, he really struggled with his command. He couldn't locate his 4-seam. Like, come on. Let's not waste the 2.5 minutes. He's going to talk about that and just ask him the good questions. No, it's never going to happen because these guys are fearful for their job. That role in the media has already been diminished over the past 5 to 10 years. And then once COVID happened, when I was talking to Andy Martino on one of those podcasts, he said once COVID happened and guys, we were doing the Zoom interviews, you lost any connection to any players or any coaches that you possibly had, and they just got further and further reserved. And the more you ask them troll questions, the less likely they are to ever give you an exclusive or any information. And that's what these guys' job is dependent on, is having access.
Yeah. Well, I can be hopeful.
Oh, hope is not a strategy. Let's talk about some other things from the trade deadline. Obviously, every team ahead of the Yankees in the American League made moves. Boston added, Baltimore added, Houston, we know what they did. Tampa added. You mentioned Savale. Toronto made a couple interesting moves. Jordan Hicks, Paul DeJong. Texas got Scherzer, Montgomery, and Stratton. Boston got Urias, and Baltimore got Jack Flaherty. Everyone got better. The Yankees did nothing, which is worse than getting worse. But hey, they were interested in players. So they were interested. And like I joked earlier, they sent scouts to San Diego just to make sure that Juan Soto is good, just in case that the Padres were going to trade him. The scouts could then report back to Brian Cashman. Yeah, Juan Soto might be somebody you want to acquire, Brian. Yeah.
He's young, controlled.
Good use of $3,800 to send that scout out there to San Diego, put him up in a hotel. That was really worth that scouting report. Juan Soto is good, period.
Yeah, so the other pieces that I'm also interested in are the conversations that were had about current players that are not going to be potentially not on this team or at least not under contract next year. Who's to say? And this is the part and who will not be signed, but yeah, they could have gotten look, none of this was going to bring back anything crazy, but what it would have done.
But they were trying, which is the frustrating thing, what Brian Cashman was asking for, because teams were calling on Bader, teams were calling on Glaber. Brian Cashman was asking apparently way too much for those players, not because what he knew he needed to do if he sold. I'm using air quotes for anyone listening, but on YouTube you can see I'm using the air quotes. If he sold, he needed to be able to say, we couldn't say no to this deal because we got this team's number 4 and number 7 prospects, and this is going to line us up. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's also, again, no plan for the future as well. If you can't say that we're not going to sign Bader because they have no idea what they're doing. Bader might be the center fielder next year if they sign him. Because they
trade him and sign him. They did that with Aroldis Chapman.
They did. You're right. They have done
trade Harrison Bader for a team's number 29th prospect, like you gave the White Sox, and then if you really like Harrison Bader, which you shouldn't, sign him in the offseason.
Yeah, but no direction for any of this, and the fact that they still believe or say that they believe that this team can compete is just it's funny. It's humorous. It is, because there are expiring contracts that you could have gotten some value for. Domingo Germán, probably not a sellable asset at that point.
We realize now. I mean, I thought Domingo Germán was potentially a sellable asset.
I mean, the Oakland A's wouldn't have disclosed that, but maybe the Yankees would have.
Harrison Bader, I just pulled up some numbers. Since July 1st, which is 89 plate appearances, has a 618 OPS. It's about what he was for most of his time in St. Louis. Pretty much a little bit below league average offensive player. And that's what he's been pretty much for the Yankees this year. Other than when he first came back from injury, originally he did jumpstart. He did give the Yankees a spark, and he was really, really good for a couple of weeks. But other than that, he's been bad. He's been a bad offensive player.
Yeah.
And he's been a guy who's had injury problems. So you combine those two things, mediocre player, injury guy, not worth signing.
Yeah, you can get defense other places. He's a good defender. Everybody still maybe not as good of a defender as I was expecting, to be honest, but he's a good defender. IKF also good defender. That's a guy I want to stay around, Logan. I want him to stick around. IKF is part of the solution.
Teams were calling on IKF too. Who didn't know the Blue Jays?
Hell no.
The Blue Jays asked about IKF.
Yeah, because he's a valuable player. He is. He could help someone at the end.
So another interesting thing is teams were calling on Holmes and King.
Yep.
And I actually agree with not trading them, because the reality is they were not going to yield top end prospects. The days of trading Chapman and Andrew Miller for high end prospects, that was I think the Yankees just caught lightning in a bottle there. They caught two teams, the Guardians,
well, maybe not, because nobody really worked out. You could say Gleyber worked out, but that's
no, but you can still say at the time they traded for top prospects. Okay. It doesn't matter what happened with the prospects. Those were top prospects at the time. They traded Miller to Cleveland and got back Frazier, Fireisen, and
Sheffield.
Justice Sheffield was part of that too. Okay. So they got a lot for Andrew Miller and Ben Heller, and they got Gleyber Torres from and
Billy
McKinney,
and they also got back Adam Warren, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
You still haven't heard from, but still,
yeah.
What you got for just two relief pitchers was twofold. One, both of those teams were in unique positions, hadn't won in a billion years, both trying to win. Okay, so they were overpaying for their missing pieces, which was an elite relief talent. We were also in that era coming off of the 15-16 Royals that won World Series or got to Game 7s of World Series on the backs of their bullpens. And so teams said, we need shutdown relief pitching and it worked for both of those teams. Like, you can argue, and both of those teams took it to Game 7 of the World Series in large part due to the relief pitching they got. You were not going to get top prospects, overhaul your farm system for Michael King and Clay Holmes. So, in my opinion,
also they're not dominant guys. They're
not dominant guys either.
Consistencies, yeah. So you can't.
In my opinion, you
can't even put them in the same realm as Chapman at that point and Miller at that point, because both of those guys were elite back of the bullpen guys.
So, in my opinion, both of those guys have actually more value to the Yankees pitching next year, hopefully on a contending team, than they do getting you some mid-level prospects this year.
I agree.
Bader, different story. Gleyber, different story. Anything else you could trade from the rotation, which we know now Germán was not tradable. Severino's probably not tradable. Maybe a team would want to take a shot on him, but probably not. Like, literally, it was Bader and Gleyber were your only two valuable pieces that you could trade.
Yeah. So again, goes back to also the makeup of what we're doing here too. You don't even have assets to trade.
I know Gleyber has a year and a half left. This is the best Gleyber Torres has been in a really long time. You sell high on him now. because I don't think they're going to sign him long term. They would be foolish to sign him long term.
They wouldn't
And
be
I
foolish
think-
to sign him long term, but okay, keep going.
Yes, they absolutely would be foolish to sign him long term.
Okay.
You think he had discipline problems when he was playing as a young player for arbitration in a contract? He came into camp in COVID as a fat ass, as a 26-year-old. You think he's going to be all, he's going to be regimented in his diet and everything if he gets $100+ million contract? They would be utter fools to sign Gleyber Torres.
Ever since he became a father, none of that has happened. So there's a change in the paradigm here.
Ever since he became a father, none of that has happened?
Yeah, don't be looking up exactly when the kid was
Do
born.
you remember last spring training?
Anyway,
Hold on.
I don't want to
Do you
spend
remember?
energy
Do you remember
on
last
Gleyber
spring
Torres,
training
'cause he's
when
not
they?
the problem.
Do you remember last spring training when they did that stupid Yes Network thing and they asked, "What's the first thing that comes to your mind when we say this player?" And when they said Gleyber Torres, there was like all they said was Call of Duty.
I mean, they're all friends. What that means nothing to me.
He had already had a kid at that point.
Yeah, so he's playing video games. What do I give a shit?
It's not
Your
very
point that makes
responsible.
no sense. Not
He's a
responsible.
child. My point is he's a child.
There's a lot of grown ass men that play video games. Anyway, yes,
Who has time to play video
direction.
games when they just?
You know what? Here's what I want. Here, maybe you'll appreciate this. As long as another GM comes in and deems and makes a different, there's someone else is giving the report on him, and if they go and there's a plan and he's part of the plan, but there's more pieces around it, totally fine. He's a good player. He's not a very good player. He's not a great player. He's not a bad player. He's a good player. He's a good piece. He is.
I'm just looking up some.
And he
numbers
keeps you on
to
your
disprove
toes.
that right
He
now.
keeps you on your toes, which I appreciate.
Oh, you like
Yeah,
the schizophrenia of Gleyber Torres. He'll go 2 for 3. He'll go 2 for 3. He'll go 2 for 3, but then he'll just make a back-breaking mental error to cost you a game.
Yeah, I do. I like what he does to you personally. Yes.
I don't think he's ever hated a player.
I know,
much.
right?
I've hated players much
never-
more. Than
Chase
Gleyber
Headley,
Torres.
but Chase Headley didn't even
Chase Headley.
deserve the hate. It's like, what do you?
Chase
it's
Headley
like,
definitely
it's like,
deserved the
It's
hate.
like getting mad.
Negative exit velocity. You remember?
Yeah, but he was never supposed to be anything. It's
Oh,
like you're just
Gleyber
getting mad
Torres.
at a guy who
Gleyber
knows he's not
Torres
that good.
is Gleyber Torres. I know was up to like a 112 WRC plus at one point.
Oh,
He's
boy.
now at 107. 7% better than league. We're talking about a
100%
league
good.
average player.
I need team OPS plus.
Why?
Because he would be at a
Why?
180. Why not?
Because
I don't
what does that
understand.
tell you? That doesn't tell you. That just tells you the rest of the team sucks.
It's
Well,
exactly
you know what it
tells
also
me.
does?
Like,
That
it-
does not.
it tells me-
Again,
it tells me
Andrew,
the
being
value
the
that he has
skinniest
to the
kid
team.
at fat camp does not make you skinny. You're still at fat camp.
Yo, first of
Being
all,
the best player on the Yankees this year does not make you good. You're
You're
playing with
completely
a bunch of
missing
shit ass
something.
players.
yes,
You're
yes,
valuable though.
you're playing with other bad players around you in a lineup where you have to get attacked. That if you are surrounded by better players, especially on the offensive side, you have a better opportunity to produce. You have a better opportunity to see better pitches. When you're surrounded by trash, you're few and far between. So I could absolutely argue that a man who is 7 points higher than the average player, if he were on a good team with an actual decent offensive production around him, you could see that tick up a significant amount because he would actually be getting more opportunities to do damage within a strike zone. So it makes no sense. He's not
And to boot,
not the problem.
and
And he's a pretty
his-
good defender, actually.
Oh no, but negative defensive metrics this year.
Pretty good defender. You're just screaming at the sky.
Maybe other teams didn't want to trade for Gleyber Torres because they looked at the numbers and they were like, "Yeah, I know he's your best player, but he would be like our 17th best player, so we don't really want him."
I do want to know the fact that, you know, what Brian Cashman was asking for. That's what I'm curious about.
62nd percentile and outs above average does not make you a good defender. That makes you
That is a red dot on
makes you a
Baseball Squad.
mediocre fielder.
That is a red.
You know, how many times can I just talk
Baseball Squad.
about things and hit truths? You know, only occasionally. I don't know what you want from me.
62nd
I have to argue about
You know
Gleyber
what-
Torres
do you
with
know
this
what
guy every day.
62nd percentile is the equivalent of a 107 WRC plus. It's barely better than league average.
But it is. So
So he's a barely better than league average player.
Which
You want to
means he's
sign
good.
long
He's not
term
great.
a
He's good.
barely better than league average player? You want to sign that
Yes,
long term?
you can't have superstars everywhere. You have to have manageable things.
Can we
in
have
different
good
places.
players? Can we have
That's what
decently
he is.
good players? No,
That's
he's
what he
not. He's
is.
average.
He's
He's
decently
average.
good.
You know, we just established he's average.
Well, he's better than average. Actually, you established that.
Is 7% better than average?
That's better
Good?
than average.
Better than average.
Hey, he's one of the few guys that doesn't strike out.
Yeah, there you go.
Does he walk?
Thank you, Logan.
Does he walk?
I know the answer.
Why would he walk? Everybody's going to go after him.
He doesn't really walk.
Gleyber Torres
well,
is
actually,
not.
he's 322 on base percentages here. He's got a 260 average.
Yeah.
That's not
bad at all. Yeah, you don't have to
God,
walk. When
you
you're,
guys
when you're
are.
there.
I wish I could have we could go back in time 4 years and you could hear what you're saying. You actually just said 322 on base percentage is not bad.
No. That's not what I said. I said that when you hit 260, a 322 on base percentage is fine.
I feel like you guys are now trolling me. Like I'm taking crazy pills.
What do you mean?
You guys are talking like a 260 batting average and a 322 on base percentage is like all-star, Hall of Fame. Like Gleyber Torres is going to the Hall of Fame. Retire his number. Old timers day.
If the 3 true outcome and launch angle era stays long enough, the 260 average actually might get you in the Hall of Fame.
Listen, part of my Gleyber Torres' hate is your guys seeming just
which
defiant
is,
obsession with him this year.
Which means
this
is never going to end.
Which means this is never going to end
because part of this is really just to piss you off too. So this is a juxtaposition.
Gleyber Torres is not the problem with the 2023 Yankees.
Cool.
But he
See
is
you guys
a
next
problem.
Week. Talk to you
he
next
is
week.
A problem on the 2023 Yankees, one of many.
Okay.
And I just think he's stupid.
Well, that's the reason you don't like him. If you didn't,
I think he's a stupid baseball player.
Guy.
Yeah, if a league average player didn't make crushing mental mistakes, then you're right. I wouldn't have that much of a problem with him. Or if you're hitting a 138 WRC plus and you make some mental mistakes, I can overlook them. When you're 107, barely above league average defensively, and you are stupid on the baseball field, I'm sorry, I can't overlook it.
Okay. 18 strikeouts a game.
The Astros are coming into town, and I'm concerned that it's going to be a bloodbath.
They're the type of team that understands and recognizes when there's a wounded animal walking around.
Mm-hmm.
They're bringing in an assassin.
They're the type of team that will play with the carcass after.
They are hyenas. They will eat the bones, because they're scavengers. They're scumbags, and they will. I can't even say they're scumbags because it's like a different team at this point. Alex Bregman's a scumbag, but the rest of them are just very good baseball players and do have that killer instinct. And when you bring a guy like Justin Verlander in now, the confidence level is at an all-time high for this year. So you're looking at something that's it's not a good combination of things.
And you don't have Cole pitching in this series,
which is a problem because he's really the only thing that's giving.
You've got
any hope at this point.
Schmidt, who's been very consistent since May. You've got Severino, who's been the worst pitcher in baseball. You've got Nestor Cortez coming back from injury, and you've got Carlos Rodon, who's been terrible since coming back from injury. Going against Verlander over the weekend, against the Astros, who own you, are in your head.
Can we just ramp Frankie Montas up? Why not?
You know what's going to be funny is like Frankie Montas is going to get like a start like September 16th.
No, Frankie Montas is like, I'm not coming anywhere near this team right now. I'm not coming anywhere near this team. If I were him, I would avoid it like the plague.
When Boone teased to the media something is happening with the rotation, he said everyone's healthy, and he mentioned Herman being healthy. Which I know if he left Herman out, then it would have been an indication of something's up with Herman. But like, I don't know, just don't say anything. Just say there's something going on with the rotation. It will be announced, whatever. Don't even say these guys are healthy. Like, I don't know. It's just like, all right. I don't know. I can't talk about this team anymore right now.
Yeah, it's a massively frustrating week. On top of a massively frustrating season. it's just one of those things that's they're forcing us to not talk about baseball, which is really fucking unfortunate. They're forcing the hand for anybody who cares about this team, who talks about this team, who covers this team in any capacity. You can't talk about baseball because baseball is not even a top 3 story with this team right now, which is crazy.
Well, you know what I mean, we're a couple weeks away from doing the what do you want to see in the offseason episode? What do you want to see what do you want to see the rest of the way this year? Like we're not even in the analyzing a series because it's not going to matter. None of these games are going to matter. This team is not going to make the playoffs. I do think they're going to hang around because they're going to be good enough to play 500 and hang around. The worst case scenario for this team legitimately would be sneaking into the last wildcard spot. I do believe that would be the worst thing for this team.
Yeah. I mean, whether they're
because if they do that, nothing will change. Nothing will change in the offseason.
That's assuming that, yes.
But why do you think something would change in the offseason?
Yeah, why?
Because if they flame out and they're eliminated on September 8th, I'll have 2% hope. 2% hope that they will make changes in the offseason.
Hope is not a plan, Andrew. Hope is not a plan. That's the
so nothing. They're not going to change no matter what. Then
that's what they've shown us.
They change players. They're going to change players regardless. Are they going to change?
I'm talking about the manager.
They're not. I mean, again, dude, like there's nothing showing that that's going to happen. So them not making the playoffs doesn't assume that. So honestly, Joe Girardi outperformed everything that anybody ever thought was,
right. That decision was made in July, and just like the
millisecond was a millisecond from being from the World Series with a team that was early and got canned because of whatever. So no, it means nothing. I don't think it means anything, and I don't know what the determining factor is, whether they sneak into the last wild card or they don't make the playoffs. I don't think either one of those have anything to do with what they're going to do. And if they're going to stand pat, they were always going to stand pat.
I have to believe, because if I don't believe this, I should just stop watching and stop being a fan entirely. I have to believe that if this team, after spending nearly $300 million, misses the playoffs, Hal Steinbrenner has to say, Brian Cashman, you have not gotten the job done. I'm making a change. Aaron Boone was not the right hire. I'm making a change. If he is not willing to do that after spending $300 million and watching this team regress year after year for going on 5 seasons, then what is the point of being a fan of this organization?
I don't know, but they gave him an extension last year when there's no world in which he deserved an extension.
Then look at yourself in the mirror and realize that was the wrong decision and just have to eat it.
Yeah.
Like they did with Aaron Hicks. They had to eat it. They're going to have to eat some mistakes. And if that's not going to, if I don't believe that's going to happen,
you don't believe it's going to happen.
I know.
All right, let's see what happens in Houston. Again, at the end of the day, I'm just going to say something that's a little half glass full because I feel like I need to before I get to the rest of my day. If the players on this team actually do what they're supposed to do, they could actually be decent, but they don't. So yeah, when they look at the talent on this team and that is supposed to perform like we all expected them to perform, team could potentially do something. So just do that. So just do that, guys.
That was literally the Yankees war room ahead of the trade deadline is, guys, let's just have everyone play like it's 2015 again.
Yeah. We're just going to add, 25% to everybody's stat line and see where the nerds. Hey, nerds, where does this put us? 25%.
You need more than 25%. The only player you need 25% to is Gleyber Torres. Then he'd be a good player. But you need like 50% increase on everybody else for them to be okay. All right, guys.
Everybody emotionally, good luck. Good luck with the Houston series. I seriously say this. Take care of yourselves. And go outside. Look up. Go outside. The Jets are on tonight. That's something.
All right. We'll talk to you guys after the Houston series. That might be an interesting episode. Talk to you guys then.